Welcome back dear YouTube viewers, I'm Xnick and I'm here again with Card Duels, where, thanks to the help of the viewers, we decide which ones are the worst card in the game. And thank you everybody for viewing and voting here. And let's quickly review where are we standing as of today. We already had a video where some enchantments were facing against each other, the Iteration versus Prism Array and Cruel Reality versus Bonds of Mortality. So far we are starting to see which ones are likely to win those matches, but the video is still on. If you want to vote, make haste and you can cast your vote there if you haven't already. And also lately we were having another video where the Bloodfire Elemental faced the Aspiring Aeronaut and the River Serpent facing Valakut Invoker, and the winners of those matches are going to face again the winners of other matches, and well, it's like a tournament, and finally we are going to find out which one is the worst card. So today we are going to be looking at the sorceries. Which ones are the worst sorceries in the game? Which one would you never include in your deck? Or let's take it easy here. Match 1. This is fine looking picture. Which card is this? Demon's Grasp. It's a 5 mana black sorcery spell. Target creatures gets -5/-5 until end of turn. The good side of the card, it can remove indestructibles such as maybe Ronas the Indomitable or Kefnet Mindful. Doesn't do damage, therefore some cards are not going to take that into account. For instance, Enchanted Mist. This card prevents all damage that will be dealt to a target creature, but since we are not dealing damage, this does not work. Flameblade Angel, a 6 mana angel, reads that whenever a source an opponent controls deal damage to you or a permanent you control, the Flameblade Angel can deal 1 damage to the source's controller, but doesn't work with Demon's Grasp. Then, of course, is stronger than Grasp of Darkness. It deals -5 instead of -4, and for the modic price of just 5 mana instead of 2 black. Speaking of which, another advantage of Demon's Grasp is that it doesn't require double black. That means it's a bit easier to cast in terms of black, so you can splash Demon's Grasp in other decks. What is the opponent of Demon's Grasp? What is this? Is Reduced to Ashes. It's a 5 mana red sorcery, deals 5 damage to target creature, and if that creature will die this turn, exile it instead. Pros: high damage, it exiles the target, which can be relevant if you are facing Gisela the Broken Blade, because her sister Bruna can bring her back from the graveyard, and then you are going to have to deal with Brisela, Voice of Nightmares. Speaking of which, this sorcery bypasses the curfew of Brisela, because when Brisela is out, the opponent can't play spells with mana cost 3 or less, but who cares, because Reduced to Ashes costs 5. That applies to Demon's Grasp too, but we have to mention. And it's a red sorcery, so it's going to benefit from cards that synergize with red. For instance, Ember Maw Helion adds 1 point of damage when we use Reduced to Ashes, or Chandra can be tapped when we cast Reduced to Ashes, and Chandra, when we untap Chandra, then we can tap her and deal 1 point of damage. So cool. Well, which one of those two do you like better? Which one of them would you add to your deck? If you have to add one of those, then vote for the other one. Let's see which ones are going to be facing in our second match today. What is this? Well, I couldn't find a higher resolution image, but this one is Roiling Waters. 7 mana sorcery with double blue in the cost. Return up to 2 target creatures your opponents control to their owner hands, and target player draws 2 cards. So it's good to destroy auras and counters that the players have been placing on creatures, and also can be used to affect cards that look into how many cards are left in the opponent's hand. For instance, Grim Strider gets -1 for each card in your hand. So if the opponent is playing Grim Strider and you use Rolling Waters to force the opponent to draw cards and return other 2 creatures, then suddenly the Grim Strider has 4 more cards to look into, so it's probably going to die pretty soon. Also, you can have a friend, an ally of your team drawing your cards, and of course there is this old card from Shadows over Innistrad, the Werewolf of Ancient Hunger. It's a big werewolf whose power and toughness are equal to the combined number of cards in all players' hand. Therefore, you can make this one grow if you use Rolling Waters. Of course, you have to flip the other werewolf human before doing this. But anyways, it's a good looking card. Maybe you like to play that combo. And what is going to be the opponent of Rolling Waters? Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Here comes a big poster from Wizards of the Coast. It's Gruesome Slaughter. It's a 6-mana colorless sorcery. Until end of turn, colorless creatures you control gain tap. This creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature. Pros of this card: any deck can cast it. It's a colorless spell, so you can include it on any colors you like, and since it works with the void and any colorless artifact creature or even vehicles, you can have maybe use these cards in whatever you want to, and also has some colorless synergies. You can, well, tap your creatures, deal damage, and yeah, it's so beautiful. Of course, if you have some untap effects that, since the Amonkhet expansion with the Exert are quite interesting to have in your decks, then you can do the activation twice sometimes. So Gruesome Slaughter, maybe you have 3 or 4 colorless creatures, you tap them, you deal the damage 4 times, then untap all of them with some effect and deal the damage all over again. And finally, you have to mention it has synergy with Throne of the God Pharaoh, because at the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses life equal to the number of tapped creatures you control. So interesting. Then your task is to select which cards are the worst to include in your decks here, and the winners here are going to be the losers, of course, but are going to be facing the enchantments. So next time we're going to, next time after we see another round of creatures, we are going to put the winners of this video against the winners of the enchantments video. And don't forget to suggest your bad cards in the comments. I was looking at the instant artifacts and planeswalkers and finally decided that in general they are not as bad as these cards that we are looking at, but maybe I am wrong. So let me know if you feel different, that I'm overlooking some card that should be included here. But I don't being an instant card is pretty powerful, so that makes up for the lackluster of some of the effects. So I don't know if there's some instant that is worth to mention. There are plenty of creatures that one should never play, and all the planeswalkers look pretty decent to use, so I don't see anything bad there. But I'm ready to hear you telling me otherwise. And well, that's it for today. Sayonara!